Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. I hope you guys are doing very, very well. Lots to unpack in this section of the fallout. Of course, we did one yesterday talking about Daniel Farke and Dean Smith and Southampton as well. So if you're a Southampton fan and you missed that one, go check out yesterday's video. But in this one, we're going to be talking about why West Ham are so massive right now and dissecting their game between them and Liverpool. And of course, having a look at Chelsea versus Burnley and Man United versus Man City. Arsenal fans will get to you at some point. Don't worry. Stick around. This is the fallout. Every single week, we dive into different teams and have a look at which bits are interesting from the tactics of those games. So stick around. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, it would massively, massively be appreciated if you could do that for me. If you do enjoy the channel and do want to watch videos in the future as we try and march our way to 150,000. I can't even believe I would have ever thought I could get to that point. So get involved, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep this moving forward. Speaking of which, let's dive into the games. We'll go with the Manchester derby first, which was, it was grim, wasn't it? It was really, really grim. And in that video I did last week, where we spoke about Man United, I said that Man United's 3-5-2 won't survive. I stand by that. And I think so far that's been proven right. And the reason that's been proven right is games like this. It's so glaring. And do you know what? I think Michael Owen gets a lot of heat for a lot of different things, but he said something very, very pertinent over the weekend, talking about the structure, the plan of those big sides and bringing in players that suit that and weeding out the weak, which is, of course, sounds pretty ruthless, but this is the top end of football, full stop, right? So for Man United to get pumped by Liverpool the way that they did and then just go to a 3-5-2, it's reactive, not proactive. And it came unstuck against Man City. I think the most grim thing from all of this is that the game against Liverpool were in third gear, I'd say. You know, some of the goals were kind of given on a plate for them. They didn't really get pushed in any way. Man City were in first gear in this game. Seriously, it was so easy. You might have seen this on Twitter, the average positions of Manchester United. And this is what I was getting at. The personnel that you have in this team don't fit this formation with the ball more so than without the ball. Now, Ronaldo, we were talking about how you kind of get him in, and this is interesting as well. Like, I think what's good about this channel is that we can have a nuanced conversation, because when I do a video and it's called My Problem with Ronaldo, I'm not saying he's not an unbelievable footballer. I'm saying I've got a problem with the purchase, and then the fact that everyone has to bend to try and find a way to make him work. And from that, yes, he'll do well, but will the team do well? That's my problem with that signing. And this adaptation of trying to get the best out of Ronaldo just highlights that it's not, it's a problem. Because the thing with the 3-5-2 is that the important players in this, if you want to kind of retain a shape, if you imagine like a normal 3-5-2, it would be, you'd have someone here, 2, 3, you'd have your fullbacks here because they're nice and confident, you'd have 2 up front maybe, and then you'd have 2 here. Or you could have a double pivot, right? That's what you would be looking for if it was well spaced out. When you're playing that way, certain people are integral in it. So if you've got a double pivot, one of those 2 midfielders have to be one of those players that get on the ball. Because if they get on the ball, that allows the pitch to be spread out. It allows other players to offer up angles. And it allows your team to move up the pitch. That's if you want to play through that side, right? Or it's down to the wide players. It might be down to the fullbacks and the midfielders to help in that way. But by that, I mean, what you do, and I spoke about this last week on the channel, is you almost divide the pitch in half and you work this way up the pitch. You would get Wan-Bissaka to make another run, get crosses in, and then you've got bodies in the box. That's how you would do it. And the exact same on the other side. You'd start with Maguire, he'd play it to Shaw, or you'd play it into a midfielder and he'd play it to Shaw, who'd make those runs. That's how you play 3-5-2. You pick a side. You don't really play through the middle that much because that's where you can create your overloads. So once again, it doesn't suit them. This will be the last time hopefully have to say this. This is why the 3-5-2 is never going to work, because the other way that you retain a good set of average positions and again move your way up the pitch so that so that not only one player is in the opposition's half, is by having great centre-backs who can drive out with the ball as well. If you've got those kind of players, then you're fine. And Maguire looking to do that a little bit more positive in the way that he plays with the ball because he's comfortable dribbling out with it. But Lindelof is not that player. So again, Wan-Bissaka sort of comes to help out. The forward players come to help out. And the final reason why this doesn't work, especially when you don't have Edison Cavani in the team, is that if you've got a problem here, the good thing about 3-5-2 is that if you've got a target man who will work the channels or be a great target man, that allows you to move up the pitch as well. But they don't have that because it's Ronaldo or Mason Greenwood who couldn't even get out. And that's partly down to Man City being fantastic. But you don't have the personnel. Man United in big games don't have the personnel to do this. And without Edison Cavani, if you think of how they've got by through this in the past, they'd have someone like Rashford up top and they'd hit the channels. They would hit the channels all the time and stretch the play that way. But with Ronaldo, you can't do that. But more importantly than it being about Ronaldo, it's reactive and it's not suiting the other players with the ball, let alone without the ball. And what that does is it invites pressure. And especially when you're in the cauldron of Old Trafford when things aren't going well, it makes life easier. And then when you go against the Man City side that play brilliantly, let's have a look at their average positions. If you remember how deep they are here, Man United, basically what happened actually, let me just show you here. And I'll show you in a second. Man City played high and pinned players back, but both fullbacks back, it pins them back. And because they work so hard as a team as well, they've often got the two players there as well. And because Man United aren't good enough to play out from the back through their midfield, they were at a loss. They were massively, massively at a loss in this game. It was an absolute mess for them. And like I say, Man City really didn't even get out of second gear. Let me just show you those average positions. There you go. Foden on that left-hand side. Cancelo as well. Cancelo had 125 touches. Walker had 122. He was essentially playing centre midfield for a lot of the game, just getting on the ball whenever he wanted. Because, like I say, and I will say this again on this channel, football's about concern. And Man United were just incredibly concerned about the opposition. And Man City weren't concerned about them. So they were able to be incredibly committed with their pressing. They were superb in doing that. And Man United just couldn't get out. Man City attempted 832 passes in this game. Man United 400. And how many of those were in their own half? I mean, God knows. I'm sure we can probably see that from the playing areas as well. The bulk of it for Man United playing in their own half, for the bulk of it, only 70% of the game being played in Man City's half. It was everything I kind of expected to happen at some point. And against Spurs, it's different. You know, you got a team that didn't really press you that much. But in Man City, a team that's well-drilled with high-quality players in a formation that they know and understand, with incredibly intelligent players as well. Shout out to Bernardo Silva in particular, who's been a joke this season. Man United were lost and are lost a little bit at the moment. And coming back to those comments from Michael Owen, the biggest problem is that they're snookering themselves. They're hamstrung by the personnel that they've got. And Ronaldo is so clutch. They're banking on him over the rest of the squad. And I get it, but I truly believe it's not the right decision. Can you find a way for Ronaldo to sort of bend to the will of the personnel that's there right now? I really don't know what the answer to that is. Probably not, because he's 36. But my point is that that's the way round it should be. Disappointing result for Chelsea, drawing 1-1 against Burnley, but no reason to panic at all in terms of them creating chances. It was actually quite clever defending from Burnley at times, but also a game that could have been very, very different. If you have a look at this, you can see from the sort of starting lineups that they were maybe missing Lukaku in a game like this, because they did get into good areas. The likes of Ross Barkley had 5 key passes in this game, the number 18 there. Callum Hudson-Odoi, who played up front alongside Kai Havertz to a point, created 5 key passes as well. And Chelsea themselves created 5 big chances in the game. And you do just wonder if Lukaku was playing in this game, if they would have been much better off. The accumulated XG for Chelsea was 2.28. If you have a look at the shot map, you can see it tells a bit of a story of what should have happened if Lukaku was available. The centrality, the density of the shots. Chelsea will have wondered why they wouldn't have scored in this game. But actually, there is a reason to it. And it's how Sean Dyche has always set up his teams. He's quite known for coaching his players to allow shots, but to coach them in a way that they get their angles right to allow them to block it. And of the 25 shots that Chelsea had, let me show you this. Only 4 of those shots were on target, which is pretty surprising, but it's also not surprising, because this is what Burnley do. They're very, very cute in how they do it. And so when you look at the numbers initially, you think, wow, absolutely all over them. But it was a quite comfortable scenario for Burnley to defend, and that's shown from the XG. 11 of the shots were blocked, as you can see right here. And Chelsea had an XG on target, so those shots that were on target, of only 0.8. Whilst Burnley, again, if you have a look at this shot map, their expected goals on target was 1.15, despite creating next to no chances. So with that, it kind of shows that there's just different ways to get yourself points, and that's been a way that Sean Dyche has utilised throughout the years, and it continues to work for him. So why are West Ham doing so well, and why did they do so well in this game? It really is one that's built on defence, and of course they have different weapons that allow them to do what they can do. The likes of Jarrod Bowen, who's really gone up a notch this season, really knows that he's a Premier League player now, is creating a lot more. But in that front three behind Antonio, you've got some really hard workers there, and that's being shown. But that double pivot behind is just so strong and solid. They get through so much work. And as I said, you've got a lot of players here with kind of not a defensive mindset, but people that are hungry and happy to do that hard work. The consistency of this West Ham team is absolutely astounding. But also what I like is there's a grit there that they love to work. There's a tenacity in wanting to do the dirty stuff, the hard work. And that's what they did so brilliantly against Liverpool, because, of course, they didn't have the ball that much, 31% during the game. Going through it, I think everyone deserves a little bit of credit, but the consistency of having Ben Rama, Fornals, Jarrod Bowen, Antonio, Souček, Declan Rice, we know what their starting 11 is the bulk of the time, is really, really impressive. The double pivot of Declan Rice and Thomas Souček, really integral in this game. First of all, Declan Rice, we spoke about it last week, that left-hand side, being able to kind of stop that very powerful right-hand side of Salah and Trent, kind of moving into that space, doing a lot of work, going and helping with the ball once you've won it, but more importantly, just putting out a lot of fires and sensing the danger a lot of the time. He did that absolutely brilliantly for them, because this is one of those games where it's going to be one where it's not about him on the ball and driving it and starting to dictate with those great runs that he has with the ball and with his range of passing, but more so from the defensive side of it. So he stayed on that left-hand side and dealt with all of that. But Thomas Souček, this was one where it felt like Liverpool missed Firmino, but it seemed like a very, very clear tactic from David Moyes to put Thomas Souček and just sit him in front of the defence, or if not even that, just pretty much put him in front of Jota. What that led to was Jota having to drop deeper. This is something that I think, if it's Firmino, I think he's better at doing that. He's more competent at doing that. But also what it means is that Jota, instead of being that kind of last man staying in the box and trying to get on the end of headers, which is more what he is, he's more of a sort of Raumdeuter. He likes to kind of find those spaces. Unlike Firmino, who's happy to drop deep, get on the ball, turn, and then create things from there. By putting Souček there in the middle of the box, if those crosses came in, you had 3 big guys to stop that. But otherwise, if they were patient with their defending as well, which they were, West Ham, then you found Jota kind of moving around and trying to find a way to get himself back on the ball. And you can see that by Jota's average position. Let me just show it quickly here. He's all over the place, kind of getting on the ball. And for a team that had so much of the possession, you would expect him to be getting into that penalty area a lot better. But they were staunch, they were fantastic. And there's also one final player for West Ham that I've got to talk about. First of all, I could talk about Antonio. I could talk about Jarrod Bowen and his ability ability to drive with the ball. Antonio, in terms of working that space on the right-hand side behind Trent, who was trying to find more spaces in central areas because of the work that Declan Rice was doing. But Pablo Fornals might be one of the most underrated players in the Premier League right now. And I know the West Ham fans absolutely love him because he puts a shift in, but the wider sort of footballing world, I don't think we're really concentrating on him too much. Now, he scored a really important goal. He's got great delivery from corners as well, which is, incredibly useful. So brilliant technically as well, as you would expect from a Spanish under-21 international. But it's the hard work. It's amazing. And visually, you can see it. You really, really can. He's won 5 out of his 8 duels in this game. He's turning into a bit of a cult hero for this West Ham side. I think initially when he came in, he was trying to figure out what his role was for the team, because he's someone who's not your out-and-out attacking midfielder. He's not your out-and-out midfielder. He's somewhere in between. But David Moyes, once again, has found a system that truly suits pretty much everyone in this squad. He deserves so much credit. I saw a tweet, people talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and if he should go, and saying that David Moyes might actually be one of the front runners for that job if he hadn't have already been the manager there. Because the ability to sort of sit deep but to still go and win games is amazing. And back to Pablo Fornals for a second. He ranks in the top 14% of attacking midfielders when it comes to pressures per 90 with 20.76. He really is the starting point from that low block that they use. He ranks in the top 8 for interceptions, 1.4 per 90, and he ranks in the top 12 for blocks as well. And if you think of Nikola Vlasic, who came in for 30 million quid, he can't get a game, he can't get a look in, and that's because of Fornals, because he's been absolutely brilliant. Final stat I'll give you on Fornals is when it comes to tackles and interceptions, he's currently making 3.37, which is the most that he has ever done. This club is thriving right now. Brilliant in the Europa League, brilliant in the League Cup, brilliant in the league itself. I think we're all astounded by that. Can they keep it going? Why not? I guess you've got a very difficult Christmas period. You've got to be lucky with injuries. Antonio needs to stay fit. And you would imagine because of that, they will kind of start to sort of not trend as highly as they are right now and maybe plateau a touch because they haven't got that depth. But if that team can stay fit, I guess the only tactic that goes against them sometimes is that the opposition go on, you have the ball, can you break us down? But in the likes of Fornals, Jared Bowen, who, as I say, is growing by the game, Declan Rice wants to dominate football matches now, you've got enough quality there to go and win games when people are submissive against you. So, such an exciting time for West Ham. The longer it goes on, the better for me. It's a great story, and I'd love to see David Moyes do something special this season. Fingers crossed he does. So there you have it, guys. Another episode of The Fallout. We do it at the start of most weeks. Hopefully you're enjoying them this year. If you are enjoying them, please do consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button for me. Massively helps as we try and get ourselves up to 150,000 subscribers. Crazy. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Why are West Ham so massive? Let me know. I'll see you next time.